Hello everyone from Tokyo, Japan, and welcome to Two Wheels in Tokyo, my fourth video on this channel and the first video in which I'm doing any talking. And this video is in response to people who wanted to know what kind of bike it was I rode while making my videos, even though I've only had 3 videos previous to this one. This bike is a Moulton. It's an APB, or all-purpose bicycle, which was made back in the 1990s. And I've been riding this bike since February. I wanted to get a bike to replace my old Brompton, which unfortunately was stolen. I had it locked up into a light pole in front of my place here, and I came out and the lock was there and the bike was gone. It's never been recovered. Yes, they do steal bikes here in Tokyo from time to time, which I found out the hard way. So I decided I would like another bike which I can take down and put into a small bag or case and carry around with me on my travels in Japan. And this one seemed to be just right. I got this bike on a Japanese classified site, and the price was very reasonable. And probably because they had it, I guess, described incorrectly. But it arrived, and I took it for a ride around the block, and I was hooked. And so I started doing some upgrades to this bike pretty much as soon as I got it. And I think the only original parts left on this bike are the seat tube and the headset. I've replaced everything else. Originally, this bike was a Shimano and SRAM or SRAM equipped bike. It had a 8-speed cassette on the back with a Shimano derailleur and a SRAM or SRAM, whatever, grip shift. And that was quite adequate, much better gearing than what I had on my Brompton, and very good for getting around on the, I guess, downtown part of the city. But over here in the uptown part of the city, we have a lot of hills, and 8 speeds is fairly good for the hills here, but I wanted a little bit more gearing range, so I upgraded the driveline to this Shimano Dura Ace 7700 kit. I chose the 7700 because it's kind of old school design, and I thought it fit better with the design of the bike than say the newer style, and it works quite well. It's a simple bolt-on modification. All the parts just fit right in. No machining, no shimming, nothing like that. Everything just fit the way it's supposed to fit. I was able to fit on the front rear derailleur, a crankset, bottom bracket with just the basic tools. One thing which is different here is I added a 9-speed Caprio cassette, which has a 9-tooth small cog, which makes the bicycle easier for riding on long descents. There are not many of those here in Tokyo, but I do plan on taking this bike to other parts of Japan. And Japan has some really big mountains and some really steep climbs and descents, and hopefully this will be adequate for those. The wheels, these are 20-inch wheels with, I guess, deep V rims, bladed stainless spokes. I got these from a seller here in Japan. They were reasonably priced, and I thought that they would work well. And so far they are. The only issue I have is that these rims are only 14 millimeters wide, and I found out the hard way that putting wire bead tires on wheels like this is a real chore. I broke a couple of tire levers trying to get these on, and I'm not looking forward to fixing my first flat. However, these Schwalbe marathon tires seem almost puncture proof. I've put about maybe 1,200 kilometers on these tires so far and no punctures, and that's a pretty good record for here in Tokyo. This bike has what they call a space frame, and you can kind of tell why they call it that. A bunch of small tubes and stuff welded together. This was an interesting version of the APB because this one has a Reynolds 531 frame and forks. I heard that it was just the down tube and forks which was 531 on this bike, but the ones with the 531 down tube usually just say Reynolds 531 tube, where this one says 531 Designer Select or Designer Secret, something like that. It's getting a little dark here, so I can't read the writing too well, but it's a very well made bike, and I love the fit and finish, and I especially love the ride. This is the best riding small wheel bike I've ever been on. It tracks well, it doesn't wander, it's very stable. This is the only small wheel bike I've been able to ride with my hands off the handlebars. This is something which is quite easy for me to do on my road bike or other big wheel bikes, but something which was impossible on my Brompton. And another bike I had a Pacific or R&M Birdie, which was a dual suspension bike, and that one was extremely unstable. If I just started to lift my hands off the bars going at any decent speed, it would start to get a wobble in it. So I really love the stability of this bike. Another upgrade I did to this bike, I got rid of the original Transix stem and handlebar, and I got this old chrome moly bull moose kind of bar, an old mountain bike bar, and it bolted on quite well. I like the style, and I like the fact that I can easily mount accessories to the front. The shifters, this is a Dura Ace 9-speed system, but I was able to put in the Shimano XTR 9-speed shifters in the front. Of course, the left one is a 3-speed shifter, but by adjusting the limit screws in the front derailleur, preventing it from shifting down any further than the second ring, it's quite easy to use, and I don't have the chain fall off. The shifting on this bike is lightning quick, and I can shift while climbing under full load, no issues. I really love how it works. Another thing which I upgraded was the brakes. The original Tektro brakes were kind of garbage. I upgraded to these TRP brakes, which are much lighter and more responsive. And I use these Avid SL or super light brake levers. I like these because they're very adjustable. They have a ball bearing pivot here, which makes them operate very smoothly. The speed dial here, this dial on the front, you can move in and out at the point where the cable attaches, and that allows you to adjust the leverage on the lever, and plus being able to adjust the travel. So it's really wonderful how these work, and it's quite light. The handlebar, of course, is not light, being chrome moly steel. I'm kind of on the hunt for an alloy one. I'm not sure if one was ever made, but if I find one, I'll go ahead and swap it out. The pedals are really wonderful. I just got these last month. These are the Shimano XTR, I think 9120, but 91 something. And I like these because they're dual-sided. You don't have to flip them to just one side to put on the cleats. You can, whatever side is showing up, they'll grab onto your shoes. I also like them because they have a platform on them. I used to have the earlier version without the platform, and sometimes when I'm in a hurry, I forget to put on shoes which have cleats. If I do forget my shoes with cleats, these are much easier to use than the other ones. Other stuff, one of the more important modifications of this bike was this Brooks B17 saddle. This is a B17 special, and I don't know if you can see it, it's a little dark. You might be able to see these lines here in the leather. Now, I went to a bike shop which luckily had a large selection of Brooks saddles, and I chose this saddle because of this particular leather, which this specific one had. So in my younger days, I used to do a lot of riding, horseback riding, and I traveled with the rodeo for a couple of years, and I was very familiar with boots and saddles and equipment and tack, and I recognized this leather as being what they call bull hide, which is a bit tougher and more durable than the garden variety leather which you usually find. And if you're looking for a Brooks saddle and you're actually able to see them with your eyes or handle them, if you find the saddles which have this pattern in the grain, this would be one that most people would probably avoid because it's not shiny, but this leather is more durable than the leather which you're going to usually find in them. This was originally a nice shiny copper, the copper rails and stuff, but unfortunately over the last 6 years I've been using this saddle, it's kind of worn off. I can't say enough good about Brooks saddles. I've been riding bicycles seriously since I was about 12 years old, and that's when I did my first century. In the 90s I did some competitive riding. I did a season racing, and I've ridden just about every kind of I don't know, a seat and shorts combination, saddle and shorts combination you can imagine. Some quite comfortable, some very uncomfortable, but eventually when I got older and wiser, I finally settled on a Brooks saddle. When I was young, this was just kind of the saddles that the old guys with beards, would ride on their old French touring bicycles out across the Mojave Desert, and I never took them seriously. But until I actually got one and started using it, yeah, I was, you know, I finally was converted, and now I've put these on my road bike and on my wife's bike, and when my daughter gets bigger, you know, perhaps her bike too. The saddle is nice enough that I can ride it all day without even needing cycling shorts. And I think that's about all. I think I've covered about everything on this bike. It's a wonderful bike, and I am trying to ride it as much as I can whenever the weather allows and whenever work gives me freedom. I've been doing a lot of traveling the last month or so, but now that I'm back home and I don't have any more trips planned until later in the summer, hopefully I'll have time to do a little bit more riding, and I can make some more videos of my two-wheel trips around Tokyo. Anyway, if you like this video, please click the like button. If you want to see more, please subscribe. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you tune in again soon.